Hey everybody, Brandon Mason here with Eastmans, and today we're bringing you a review on a new shelter from Seek Outside. And while I got you here, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so we can notify you each and every week when we come out with gear reviews and great content just like this. All right, so today we have kind of an exciting gear review for you guys. This is a new shelter from Seek Outside. In fact, it's in final prototype mode and they sent it to us to test so we can get the word out to you. Tentatively, it's called the Twilight, and I'm excited about this because I've used Seek Outside shelters a lot over the last decade or more years. Everything from their Cimarron, their Red Cliff, and everything in between. I've used them on DIY float hunts up in Alaska. I've used them on extreme backcountry trips here in Wyoming, and I've even used them in base camp camping when I'm right next to the truck. One of the unique features you'll see about this, so Seek Outside is known for their tipi and pyramid style shelters. This one is a bit of a hybrid. It's kind of tipi, kind of pyramid, kind of almost like an igloo shape, and it has two center poles, or two poles, they're not in the center. The tallest pole is over 6 feet tall. I'm 6'2", and you can see it's taller than me. And this pole here is about 4.5 feet, depending on how far you extend it. And you can use a shelter without this pole if you so choose, but it's nice because it gives you more headroom, more room to move, especially with 2 to 3 people in there. It's also wood stove compatible. So this is an ultralight shelter with the setup that you're seeing here with both poles, the 10 stakes. It is only less than 3.5 pounds and it can house a ton of gear in it. And so right now it also has a floor option, a bathtub floor that I have in the shelter right now that's completely removable. And largely I'm a floorless shelter guy. I kind of like the freedom of not having to clean up a floor when I'm done, dragging in a bunch of mud that way. And I'll put down a ground sheet. Actually it's more like a Tyvek type sheet from Seek Outside. You can buy it at any hardware store really, but they also offer it as a branded Seek Outside so that I can put my air pad and my sleeping bag on it without worrying about getting the air pad punctured or anything too wet in there if the ground is wet. But anyway, this does have the option with the bathtub floor, especially if you're in areas in early season and the insects are alive and well. Here in Wyoming, if I was on an antelope hunt, I would not use a floorless shelter out in the desert because there's a good chance you're going to have a scorpion and or a rattlesnake coming to visit you in the middle of the night where it's nice and warm and they're cooling off. So you'll see one of the unique features of this also besides the 2-pole design is it has a zipperless feature. And so it's one less failure point when you're in the backcountry. If I've had zippers on various shelters fail because sand and dirt get in there and they'll come off track and they'll split. That's a major problem, obviously. But with this, you just pull on this tab and up it goes. And I can pull it up higher if I remove these 2 stakes that are closest to that door. And so what this door forms with the help of this shorter pole is essentially a vestibule area. Now I told you that I have the floor in, but you can't see it right here because it only extends that far, and it allows you to put your boots and wet clothes or your pack or things that you're not hyper worried about staying dry, especially like your pack and your boots. Obviously you don't want your boots wet on the inside, but the soles of them you can put out here and you have more room in the main part of the tent. And so if you're not putting the wood stove in there, you actually have plenty of room for 3 people plus gear in this vestibule and maybe in the center there between the 2 poles. It's a great setup. It's very unique. Now I'm going to zip this closed and you can tell it's really quiet and really easy. And right now it's kind of fluttering in the wind because I don't have it completely guyed out. It's a very stable shelter. You'll see these black tabs all around the perimeter. It comes all the way around to this side. And with some of this cordage, you can easily guide out. In fact, they'll supply it for you. You can get cordage from Seek Outside and you can guide out more to expand those walls out even more, just to give you more room to move around and to help reduce some of the issues with single wall shelters like this in the condensation. But another thing that Seek Outside does, which makes me a fan of theirs, is they have a vent on this side so that you can not have to have, some of their shelters have zippers, instead of zipping the shelter down or the zipper down when it's kind of raining or wet outside and then it's exposing the inside of your tent to the elements, you can leave that closed, but then you have this bendable, shapeable wire vent and with a mesh pocket basically in there, and it allows it to vent much easier. Now you'll see that I don't have this shelter pitched all the way flush with the ground. That is an option that I can do though. So in colder climates, or when I'm trying to hold more of the heat in, I can actually pitch that closer to the ground. It'll lock out most of that wind and keep it more comfortable inside. The downside of that is there's a higher chance of condensation, of course, and so this helps you mitigate that. Now with the stove jack on the back side of the tent, it's a very durable Kevlar type fabric, and it's extremely leak proof, so you don't have to worry about it leaking in a torrential rain when you have that flap closed. And a lot of times if you're using the stove, you don't have to worry about rain. You're probably camping in frigid temperatures and it's snowing on you, and you're not going to have moisture coming in through that hole either. Now this material is known as a sill nylon. It's kind of a generic term for what this type of soft material is. It sheds water really well. Seek Outside also offers shelters in the ultralight Dyneema fabric, which I use a lot in their Cimarron tent. I love that stuff. But the downside is it costs about 2 to 3 times more for the shelter. And so the price, it's not going to break the bank. And it's so durable, the shelters from Seek Outside, is that they're going to last you probably a hunting lifetime. And it's something that you can easily lend out to friends. It's hard to damage it. It's extremely durable. And another feature that they added with this tent, because you have these 2 poles potentially not fighting with one another, but you have tension points here and around that are trying to pull them in different spots, to keep them in place just as an extra level of security. There's a little bit of a sleeve underneath these black circles that center pole slides up in, and it holds it securely. So it can't move anywhere from where it's at right now. And the best part, in my opinion, about these types of shelters, besides being ultralight and ultra durable, is that in high winds, which out west, if you're hunting out west, you're going to experience high winds. It's just the way it is. In high winds, a teepee style, pyramid style shelter sheds that wind so well that it can be, I mean, really getting after it 30 to 40 miles an hour, and your shelter's going to stay put. You might not get much sleep because the wind is pretty loud, but it's going to stay put right where it's at. You're not going to have to worry about it blowing away and picking up and blowing away in the wind so that you're left shelterless or tipping over on you in the middle of the night. Another thing that Seek Outside supplies with their shelters is silicone, so that you can waterproof the seams of your shelter. And there's a couple reasons why they don't do that in their factory. Part of it is it adds just a little bit of weight. And so if you're an ounce counter and you're basically never outside camping when it's raining, say you do a lot of desert type camping, high country camping in really arid areas, and you're not gonna have to worry about the moisture, I'd probably leave it off. But where we're at, it's 50-50. You might get a downpour for 4 hours and then nothing for 3 days. You just don't know. And so you can see I'm not the best sealer of this stuff, so I had some running going on me, but what I do is I just spread a bead of that silicone down, and then I take my finger and just rub it in to those seams. And you can do it on the outside and the inside. Some people do it on both. I choose to do it on the outside. Either way it works. But if you want some added peace of mind, do it on the inside and outside, and then you're definitely not going to worry about any rainwater getting in there whatsoever. One of the ways that you can shed more weight on these ultralight shelters like this from Seek Outside and other companies is you can use your trekking pole as your poles. Now, a single trekking pole will work for this one, but you get up to that height, it's not going to work. Seek Outside has a trekking pole hitch, and what it does is allows 2 trekking poles to be connected together through a series of straps and sleeves, and it will extend up to about my height. It's perfect. In fact, that's what I use on most of my hunts. I'm gonna have trekking poles with me anyway. I generally don't use the trekking poles when I'm day hunting within a couple miles of my camping site. Once I get up there, I use the trekking poles to hike in there. Saves a lot on my legs, and I use my arms to help propel myself up the mountain and on the way out. But when I'm up there, I really don't use them. They're kind of a nuisance. Why not use them as your center pole? So the center poles that you can purchase with the shelter, they're made of carbon fiber, and so they're ultra lightweight. It's not really much of a weight penalty to take them with, but it's just one more thing to have to worry about. So if you have trekking poles anyway, look for the trekking pole hitch, and you can pitch your shelter with that system. All right, well, that's this review on the new Seek Outside prototype shelter, tentatively called the Twilight. And something exactly like this or very close to this is going to be coming to their website very soon. Check them out on seekoutside.com. Thanks for watching this review, and remember to subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit that notifications bell, and you won't miss out on any of this content that we're bringing you to help your time outdoors be more enjoyable.